has robes and she has monkeys, lazy diamonds.
Right, welcome to Mexico. It's been a while since I made an update video on this bike that I built up a couple of years ago. And if you're new to the channel, I made a video covering exactly what changes I made to the bike. Today, we are going to talk about two very small upgrades that I did on top of the changes that I made on that video. Namely, the saddle that you see right here, as well as the seat post that it is attached to. Now let's talk about the saddle first. I have with me the saddle that I used to have on the bike, and this is carbon fiber. I got it from Aliexpress, just like the new one. And this is, I believe, from a no-name brand. I tried to look up this Hilux on Google, but I got nothing. So this was relatively cheap. I think it was like 15 euros or so. Like I said, it's completely carbon rails, carbon surface. There was no padding on top. And I was generally very, very happy with this saddle, mostly because of the shape and because it's quite narrow. Now this, I believe, is 128 millimeters at the widest section right here, and as you can see, it narrows down quite a bit on this top part. However, as I got more into cycling and I started to do longer and longer rides, and I'm talking about 80-90 kilometers plus, I started to notice that my nuts would get extremely sore. That's not something that you want on every ride that you do. I researched a little bit on the topic and I realized that it might be because this saddle has no pressure relief channel, at least not a prominent one. It has this, slight groove right here, but it doesn't really stop it from, pressuring that area. So I decided to switch it out for this new one from a company called RYET, which is also found on Aliexpress. Now this was, I believe, 30 or 35 euros, depending on the time that you're watching this video, which is very, very accessible. And it's completely carbon as well. It has carbon rails. In this case, they're slightly thicker than this one. They're oval shaped, and then 7 by 9 millimeters, I believe. It has this, fantastic forged carbon look, glossy on the outside, and it also has a little bit of padding on top. Now the padding is really just for show because you're wearing bib shorts anyway and those have pads. This saddle does come with a fairly prominent pressure relief channel, which is going to help massively on those longer rides. This is a pattern here. There's always a helicopter ruining my shot. Let's, go on, Mr. Helicopter Pilot. Anyway, I chose this particular product because this is 135 millimeters, which fits me perfect. And in general, you will tend to want to get yourself a narrower saddle. If you want a little bit more info in the topic, look up Bike Fit James on YouTube. He has a fantastic series of videos where he covers issues with bike fit, and one of the most prominent ones for people are the saddle widths. Many of new bikes being sold today, and even third-party options from brands like Trek, Specialized, Physique, they are making saddles that are enormously wide for people, and they tend to create more problems than they solve. Issues with riding position, soreness, aching, you name it. Now there is another version of this same saddle with 3D printed cushioning, and if you want me to take a look at that and compare it directly with this exact same saddle, I can also make that video in the future. Just let me know. And moving on to the seat post. I don't have the old one with me anymore, but it was also made out of carbon fiber. However, it had one major issue, and that had to do with the clamping area. In fact, there was two issues. Number one was the fact that the clamp was made out of aluminium, while the seat post itself was made out of carbon. When you buy these, carbon products from AliExpress, they're coming from, directly from China. Some of them might be coming from molds where they don't take very special attention to the details, to the finishing, etc. And so that last one had an issue where the interface of the carbon with the aluminum clamp, and I'm talking about this curved area right here, would get worn down over time. It started to file away at the carbon, and that created a problem. I don't want the carbon seat post to crack during a ride, right? So that was problem number one. Problem number two, which also had to do with the clamp, was the fact that it only concentrated the clamping force on two small points. And, obviously that is a problem because these carbon rails are already thin as it is. Carbon is very strong, but it's very brittle. And because of the quality issues that I mentioned earlier, the clamp would become slack on this part on the back, and the force would concentrate on the front. And that was, bad news because eventually it started to show on this carbon saddle that I have right here. And I'm not sure if you can see it, but it shows, a small bit of cracking on the rails right here. So I decided to switch out the seat post for this one from a brand called Elita One. This is also found on Aliexpress. I believe it's about 20 to 25 euro or so, depending, once again, on the time that you're watching this video. It looks fantastic. The finishing is top-notch. I think you can expect this level of quality from a much, much more expensive product from, a major brand. And most importantly, the issues that I had with the clamping mechanism of the old one are gone. This one utilizes carbon fiber for both parts in the clamping mechanism, which means that they're not going to be, rubbing away at the carbon seat post itself. The hardware is made of titanium right out of the box, which is a very nice inclusion. And the surface of the clamping mechanism right here, which interfaces with the saddle rails, is continuous, which means that it's going to be a lot more stable, and it's not going to introduce, too much force on, very specific points on the saddle, like what happened in this old one. So I'm very happy with it, and I would definitely recommend it. I've managed to put around 1,500 kilometers into both of these products, which I got at the same time last year, and all of those have been on the mountain roads of Mexico. And I cannot imagine a better test for the comfort and ride quality of both of these than the harsh roads that I encounter on a daily basis. The saddle especially made a big difference in the comfort of my rides. It's still as lightweight as it was before. So this one, I believe, was 110 grams, and this new one, even with the added padding and the thickness of the saddle rails, is still 112 grams. So fantastic product, definitely recommend it. And I would even go as far as saying that it is the best saddle for the price that you can find on AliExpress. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.